That's a good intro. Welcome to the Strictly Free Game Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Waller, also known as Sean Waller. Yo, I changed my Instagram handle. I'm not even sure if you noticed that. You noticed that?
Tell me what it is now.
It used to be showing your reels, and now it's just showing you Sean Waller.
All right, we're rebranding everything right now.
Rebranding everything. Listen, we starting a new segment of the podcast. We're going to call this Mortgage Mondays. So every Monday, we're going to give you some insight on the market, let you know what's going on. And who's better to start that with than my guy, Nick. Nick, what's going on, bro?
What's going on, guys? Sean, thanks for putting me on, put me in front of some people here.
Thanks for pulling up, bro. Nick, give him a little background on yourself.
So I'm an LOA with Team DiBiase at Nationwide Mortgage Bankers. I'm here just under 3 years now. A little background about myself was I was in the hard money industry prior, and kind of transitioned into this. I still have those hard money ties today. So any investors or anybody that might be looking for a project, we can get them any type of funding that they need. But let's not talk too much about me. Let's give it a little bit about yourself.
Listen, it's all about you and it's all about the market, bro. So when it comes to hard money, just give them a little background on hard money lending, because we know the terminology. A lot of people may not know what you're talking about.
So hard money lending goes from any different kind of range from 10 to upwards of 14%. It really just depends on the project that you guys have, the LTV, the FICO scores, and other things like that.
As far as the interest rate you're talking about.
About the interest rates, yeah. Mm-hmm. So average deal that you're looking at right now, depending on the loan size as well, could anticipate anywhere from 10 to 12% for anywhere from up to a year to a year and a half term, or you could even get a bridge option. But
there you go.
It's case by case in most situations.
So. And that's usually more on the investor side. So if you're looking to invest, you usually go through hard money because traditional, banks won't do a lot of rehab type of loans. They do have rehab loans, but a lot of investors usually like to deal with hard money because it's easier for them.
Correct.
In a sense. There's a lot of holding costs though.
There are definitely some hidden costs to that. So if you do want to talk more about that, definitely give me a shout. We can talk more about that. I know Sean's super friendly on the investor side, so there's a lot of opportunities there.
We'll get into that a little later. But the topic of this podcast, right? So $1 million question people always call me with, especially first-time home buyers. They're like, "You're Sean, I'm looking for a first-time homebuyer grant. What grants is out there?" Now, if you live in New York City, especially on Long Island, there's a Suffolk County home grant that everyone's talking about right now. It's a homebuyer assistance program. They are offering up to $30,000 in grant funds, which sounds good.
Sounds great.
Sounds amazing. And
I might go for that myself.
Why not? Listen, and I'm not trying to discourage anyone from doing it, but when it comes to these grants, there is a lot of hidden things that you have to worry about, right? So now with this first-time homebuyer grant, I'll just give you some context. You get $30,000, right, to put towards your down payment on this program. So first-time homebuyers, you cannot have owned a home during a 3-year period before applying for this grant, which makes you a first-time homebuyer. There's income restrictions.
Yes.
A household of one, $86,200. Okay, not bad.
Seems good.
Household of two, $98,500. So that means the combined income for two people in that household cannot exceed $98,500.
That seems a little tight, man. I'm not gonna lie.
It seems a little tight. So when it comes to these programs, you really have to read the fine print.
Absolutely.
Now you usually have to go through consulting classes through HUD, right? Mm-hmm. Which usually takes a few months.
Could definitely add some time to the timeline.
Exactly.
If you're looking to do something sooner, we can talk about that later.
Exactly. You have to have at least $3,000 in your bank account before you apply for this application, and your household income of at least $40,000 to obtain a mortgage.
A lot of restrictions right there.
So again, we're not trying to discourage anyone against it. We're just giving you a little background, a little context of everything. Now, the property max appraised value for a home cannot exceed $532,000.
This is Suffolk County.
This is Suffolk County.
Right? Okay.
On average, that's a starter home that needs a lot of work right now in this.
You are absolutely correct on that.
And they're saying brand new construction from the ground up cannot exceed $555,000. Again, have you seen any brand new construction for $555,000?
I'm not gonna lie to you, Sean. I haven't seen a brand new construction go for that in my entire history in this industry.
That's tough. That's a tough margin. So, are there grants out there? Of course there are. It depends on what you're looking for. If you have time and you want to go through the steps of applying for these programs, I say go for it. Why not? When I purchased my home, I actually went through a grant. I went through for LIHP. I'm gonna get into that story.
Let's talk about that in a little bit.
We'll get into that story a little later because again, there was a lot of hidden things that they didn't tell us. But let's talk about the traditional buyer
Mm.
because we have Nick here. So Nick is the guy to talk to when it comes to that stuff. Traditional buyer, first time home buyer, what are they doing? What qualifications do they need?
So, like anything else, obviously we need to get some documentation in order just to get you guys qualified, get the the beginning steps done. Copy of your driver's license and social security card, 2 months recent bank statements, to use the job history, and 2 most recent bank statements with all the funds that you would need be using for this purchase. Maybe it's a brokerage account that you might have. So we would need to see all those things, give you guys a quick, insight on what you do qualify for. We can give you your different down payment options. First time home buyers for conventional, you can get 3% down. First time home buyers, FHA and FHA in general, you can do 3.5% down minimum. So there are definitely a lot of options out there. It just really depends on your income, whether it's traditional, non-traditional, like Sean was saying, or if you're looking to get into one of these grants, we can obviously, guide you through that as well. So you can definitely, if you're looking in Suffolk County right now, we definitely have some options for you here. We just got to make sure that you guys fall within the qualifying guidelines.
Fall within those guidelines. Now, so the towns, another restriction that they have is only for certain townships. It's not for everywhere in Suffolk County. So it's the town of East Hampton, town of Huntington, Riverhead, Smithtown, Southampton, Southold, and Shelter Island, which I don't know in Shelter Island if you're
not too familiar with Shelter Island. I'm not gonna lie to you. But I do see some towns on here that this would definitely fall within the range. I mean, if we're looking in Huntington, Riverhead, there are definitely some options out there if you guys are looking in the Suffolk County in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody does have questions about that, we can definitely set you guys up and see what we can qualify you for. Just to give a little background on these grants, they do take a little bit of time. Like Sean had mentioned earlier, you do have to meet with a HUD counselor, and there are certain things that you need to take potentially over the weekend or other things like that just to get the right information and get you guys in the right steps. So if you're looking on a shorter timeline, sometimes it may be easier to just go the traditional route. Maybe you can afford it. It might just be a little tighter, but sometimes you may go through all these hoops as well and you may not qualify for it.
You may never qualify. So, and they stick to these numbers. So if they're telling you a household income of $98,500 for a household of two, that's the number. You can't go a dollar over. And I could literally say that because I actually went through the process.
So let's talk more about that. So you said you used the LIHP grant. So how exactly did that break down?
So LIHP, my wife and I applied for it before. We applied for it actually, were we married? Baby, were we married? We were married. We were married. When we,
I won't tell her you forgot.
Please don't tell her I forgot. She's gonna watch this anyway. But so we applied for the program. We got $30,000, right? So that $30,000, you can either put it towards your down payment, you can put it towards renovation as well.
Okay.
But there was restrictions. They had to send a consultant out at the time of renovations or when we were getting bids, and they were allocating those funds the way that they deemed that they should be allocated. It's somewhat like a 203K in a sense. So if the roof is old, you got to replace the roof. You can't put a brand new kitchen in with that fund.
And now my question to you, not to cut you off, is did they deem a certain amount of that total fund to that specific project? So let's just say that the roof was $10,000. Did they only put down a certain amount towards that?
Here's the issue with that. So I tried to hire my own contractor to come. Okay. They bought one of their contractors, and their contractor tried to charge me double the amount for the renovation.
Wow.
So my $20,000 was reused for the rehab, wound up covering a sliding back door to my backyard and a gas conversion.
To put that into context, a sliding glass door is anywhere from $800 maybe to $1,200. I would say conservatively. The gas conversion, I would imagine that was significant.
$8,500.
It's not a small chunk of change. I'm not
it's not a small chunk of change, but that's what we got.
Okay.
For $20,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it definitely matters who you use for the contracting. But what my question now to you is, since they have to use a HUD consultant for these programs, was it a HUD certified contractor within the grant program?
It was a HUD certified contractor with the grant program. So they gave us a list of their contractors that they work with. Okay. LIHP actually came to the house with them, which I thought was a little strange. But I have my own theories with that stuff. But yeah, so someone actually had to come through with that. Now I'll give you the negative side of it. So this was 8 years ago. They told us that this grant was going to be forgiven 10 years. Every year was going to be prorated. Okay. Right? Which is fine. This is what they told us at closing. When it came time for me to do a HELOC, you know what they told me? You owe us $30,000.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So you said that it would be forgiven after 10 years.
It would be forgiven after 10 years and be prorated per year into that 10
So that would essentially come out to what's called a prepayment penalty. So if you do something within that time frame, they either can accelerate that and charge you the full amount, or like Sean was saying, that you would prorate after 10 years. But getting to year 8 now, what it is, when did you take out the HELOC?
We attempted to take out the HELOC late last year.
Okay, so you didn't take out the HELOC.
We couldn't because now there's 2 liens on the property.
Got it. Okay.
From LIHP. The
so
$10,000
that goes
and
on for
$20,000.
okay, so the grant goes as a lien against
They put it as a lien, but they never told us that.
Interesting.
Yeah, they never
so
told
that's
us
also
that.
something else that's not on this paper.
Yeah.
That whoever is watching this would love to know.
Exactly. So explain that from the bank's. I could give it, but I'd love to hear it from your side. Why wouldn't the bank want to be the third? The bank didn't want to be the third lien holder for the HELOC.
Right. So the way that would work is the primary note of the mortgage is the bulk of what you're borrowing for the property. And then if you have a second and third position, those are to be satisfied either after or in order of the lien process. So if you were to take out a third position, which is not likely in most cases to get, a HELOC or, to go around that, there would be a cash out refinance option, but everything would have to be satisfied before you can do something like that. Like Sean was saying, that they were going to turn around and charge him $30,000 to be repaid before that term has expired. So now, instead of just having that extra HELOC and the availability to use those funds, he's now responsible for an extra $30,000 note that he thought was to be forgiven.
Yeah.
So,
or at least prorated, like 2 years left on a.
Right. So that would have been about $6,000 if you really break it down. But for someone who's looking to almost tap into some funds, maybe we're using it for renovation.
We're using it for renovation.
The property.
Again, I bought my property 8 years ago for $250,000, and now the property has doubled in value, and now I have monopoly money at this point because it's equity. I can't do anything with it,
right?
Unless I'm paying them back $30,000.
That's the power of real estate, though.
That's the power of real estate.
8 years ago, on that purchase, and
Oh, it was a hell of a flip.
Oh, I can only imagine.
A hell of a flip. Wow. I pat myself on the back about that all the time. But again, we were trying to take some funds out with the HELOC to finish the renovations that we were doing. Kitchen, extend the top floor, give us more square footage, things like that, instead of spending, capital money out of my pocket.
And now you're not going to use that HUD certified contractor, right? Because now you'll save at least 50%.
I save 50% of your renovations. Exactly. But now the HELOCs are, I don't even know, are they still doing HELOCs at this point?
So most traditional banks are definitely still doing HELOCs. Again, not a very quick process.
The rates are high.
The rates are definitely high. They are very strict on their qualifications as well.
Yeah.
Typically with that, you're looking at par plus 2. In most cases, obviously, typically you would go to a credit union and other financial institutions like that. We typically go the cash out refinance route. It's a little faster. You're a little more, we're a little more quick in the process. But the home equity line of credit, you could be working with the bank for 3 months and then they could turn around and tell you you do not qualify for what you're looking to get after 3 months of work. I would be frustrated on that. I don't know about yourself.
Of course, yeah.
You're planning out those renovations that you're looking to do after 3 months, and now, oh, by the way, hey, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah, listen, that's a lot of contractors that have come to the house, giving you bids. You were content with doing one project this way, and now your funds are.
And let's talk about that now. So contractor bids, they're not always free, or estimates, they're not always free.
No, sometimes they're
paid out of pocket.
Of course.
That's another, let's just say you had 3 or 4 different contractors come by. Let's say it's $1,000 a piece. It's another $4,000 you don't have access to now because you were trying to get the best pricing.
Yeah.
Now you can't even do it because they prolong the process that long.
Exactly.
But HELOCs are definitely a good tool as long as you can qualify. Everything's a good tool as long as you use it the right way and you're adding equity to the property. Like you said, you were going to do a kitchen. Let's talk about the renovations that you would want to do. Kitchen, maybe adding extra living space, finishing your basement. Are those all value adds for the property?
Of course, yeah. Because again, it doubled in value, and we haven't even done the biggest part of the house, which is usually the kitchen. And we were going to add we want to double the square footage.
Wow.
So there you go. And we couldn't even do it because of the grant and the funds that would attach to that grant. Again, I'm not trying to discourage people from using these grants, but make sure that you have that in mind. What is your end goal? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you plan on staying in this house for at least 10 years? Are you planning on using the funds that may come with your equity in 10 years? And if you are, you probably can't because of these liens. Because I'm pretty sure they're going to do the same thing with this grant.
I would imagine, because if we look at some of the lines that we're looking at right here now, just because we want to have this, right in front of us, these are only used towards a down payment. These aren't used for closing costs.
It's not used for closing costs.
Nope. That also limits you on what you can do with these funds. And like you said, 10 years down the line, if if you don't see yourself staying in this property for long term, this could really come back and almost put you in a worse situation for having to pay back these funds.
Yeah, but this price point is basically a starter house anyway. 530 in this market.
530 in this
532.
market, absolutely.
That's a
it's definitely
starter. So you
house.
probably won't want to stay in this house 10 years.
Me personally, I probably wouldn't.
Depending on your family structure. If it's a family of two, which probably whoever the two people are on the loan, once they start growing that family,
having kids,
yeah,
anything else like that, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I say you should always work with a traditional loan officer, right? Not to stay away from the big box banks. Please stay away from those big box banks. Let's talk about that. Can we talk about that?
Sure, we can talk about whatever you want.
What is the difference between working with a traditional local lender and a big box bank?
So the big box bank is typically, should we name them? Should we leave them out of it?
They don't pay me no money.
They don't pay me either. But we can
we'll blur that out after. Once they start paying, we'll go back.
But typically working with a private lender, Nationwide Mortgage Bankers or other banks like that, we typically work on a faster timeline. We like to give you the proper information, the education that you guys need to get in the best situation possible for the purchase. We are looking out for your savings. We do want to get you as many credits as we can that we're allowed. And again, that comes within certain guidelines that we can and can't do. So typically our timeline is a lot faster. We do work all day. So if you call me at 9 o'clock at night, if you're a client that Sean and I are working with, or anybody else that I do work with, we're available all day. You call us at Sunday 2 o'clock. We're with family. We will pick up the phone. We will be there for you guys to answer any questions or concerns you may have, no matter how small they might be.
Yeah.
So.
And the big banks are usually traditional 9 to 5. After
Sundays,
5 o'clock,
some of them aren't even
Sundays
open.
They shut down.
So
Saturdays after 2 o'clock.
It definitely matters who you work with.
Yeah, matters who you work with. So just be cautious of these programs that you're signing up for. And sometimes if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
Absolutely.
Again, it's not to discourage anyone, because if you're calling me and you want to work with one of these programs, it's going to take a little longer, but we'll go through the steps together. Like that's the purpose of it. Also, there's another few restrictions that I didn't mention. No private mortgages, no short sales, no foreclosures of bank-owned properties can be purchased with this grant. So that property that you think you can find for a steal on the low, you're not going to get it because they're not most likely going to qualify for it.
So the further it seems that we go down this page, the more things that we're coming across that aren't allowed.
Like here's $30,000, but you can't use it for the stuff that would make sense. You know what I mean? And these funds are limited. So if you are applying for these type of programs, you have to get on the list by March 1st, 2024. I checked the website. I think it's shut down already. I think they're only taking like less than 30 applications, which is insane. But yeah, so that's where we're at, man. This
what it really comes down to is definitely doing like Sean and I have been talking about so far. Do your due diligence. Find out the proper terms. Find out if there's a prepayment, if there's a third lien position, whatever the case may be, because if you don't do the proper due diligence and research for yourself, it could really come back and hurt you and put you in a worse situation than when you think this is free money. It might not always be the case.
It might not always be the case.
Like Sean said before, if it's too good to be true, it might be.
It might be. And just think about what your future goals are. If you're using this starter, right? Because like we said, this is probably going to be a starter home to leverage your next move, and you don't plan on staying here for 10 years, your sale may be short $30,000.
And that's a big nut for some people. It's not a small amount of
it's not
a small amount of money right there.
That's your down payment for the next house, usually.
Absolutely.
Or your closing costs for the next house.
So. And all that equity that you might think that you're getting over these years now, you got to add that back in. So if you're selling your house now, let's just use $100,000 for an example. You're only going to take you're going to take a $30,000 hit. That's a significant chunk of your property at that point.
Yeah, that's
again, that was strictly an example, not real situations, but it still matters.
Yeah, of course. Nick, before we leave, can we talk about the $1 million question that everyone's bugging out over?
What's that? What
are the rates? How are they looking?
So 30-year average on a conventional purchase, you're looking at just over 7%. For a 15-year mortgage, you're looking anywhere from 6.25% to 6.5%, depending on the day. Everything is off of credit, income, loan to value, and other circumstances. It is case by case. So if you are a new borrower looking to get some insight on that, feel free to give me a shout. Sean has a pretty good handle on some of these things as well. So if you are looking to get, maybe a consultation or anything like that, give me a shout. My email, be sure to drop it in here.
Mhm.
And
Grab all the information. We'll also drop the link for this program below. That way you guys can see it. We'll put it in the description. You can actually go on my Instagram as well. I'm going to post it and leave it in my link so you can see it as well. Just for context, like read it over for yourself. If it's something that, again, if it's something that you're interested in, or if you're interested in a grant similar to this, give us a call. With these type of grants, do they and that's another thing as well.
what's that?
It was lender specific when I was going through my program. I could only use certain lenders.
Okay.
So it was the big box lenders. It was the M&Ts. It was Astoria at that point, and it was I think it was Bank of America. I think it was BOA.
Okay.
But they only went through those 3 banks for that program.
Interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't go through
There
like
may be a
nationwide.
reason for that.
It's a reason for everything.
Of course.
It's a reason for everything. Nick did discuss the rates. This is one thing I'm going to say about the rates, and I'm going to shout out my guy Welby, who has pounded this pause into my head. He was like, "Bro, who gives a fuck about the rates? It's all about your monthly payment.
If you can afford the payment.
If you can afford the payment, purchase the house. If you can't afford the payment, save up some more. Maybe you could buy down your rate. There's options. Do not let the news scare you out of purchasing a house. If you can afford it. If your monthly payment in your mind is like, I can afford $3,200, Nick, how much house can I afford for $3,200, and work your way back?
Exactly. We can work those numbers backwards, and we can tell you exactly what would be that exact number for you. We can also give you your max approval based on it, just so you can see kind of where the the prices are going right now. But like Sean was saying, if you can afford it, and we can only give you insight on hopefully when they would come down, and when the rates do come down, your proprietary lender should reach out to you immediately and give you the savings that you would have on the rates coming down, and hopefully refinance you guys for your benefit at the end of the day.
Yep.
So definitely work with a trusted lender. I would highly suggest that. It definitely matters who you work with though at the end of the day, for sure. Sean's always going to look out for your best interest.
That's a fact. They already know that. They already know that.
For sure, he's going to definitely give you all the info that he can that's available to him as well.
Yeah. And if you're looking outside of New York, Nick is also the lender to go to outside of New York. He's just not a New York guy. And there's also grants in different states. So this grant that we're talking about is specifically for Long Island, New York. Check your local area to see what grants are available, because I'm pretty sure they probably have a bunch of them out there. And they're limited. So if you like them, it fits you, apply for it ASAP. Don't wait.
I can definitely agree on that. Absolutely.
There you go. There you go, Nick. Leaving with some information before we get up out of here. Again, this is our Mortgage Mondays. We're gonna try to do this every week. You down?
I'm here, man. Let's
do
it.
Let's
knock it out.
He committed to it. So Mortgage Mondays every week. We're gonna commit to this. Give some information, brother. Let them know how to reach you.
Depends what kind of information they want. So for any of the new home buyers out there, like I mentioned earlier, we could do 3% down conventional purchase. We can do FHA 3.5% down as well. If you do have questions or would like to get a consultation going with Sean and myself, definitely reach out. We'll put you guys on the schedule. We'll get you guys some more information. We're big on pushing the education here, because we want you guys to be well informed about what this is a big decision for your life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to jump into this blind. So whatever information you guys are looking for, either drop it down in the comments or reach out to us directly. Sean, I can put out my information, I guess, in the comment box or wherever.
Yeah, you can actually give your information now. Give me your information.
So if you guys have any questions, my direct line is 516-551-2882, or my best email I will actually plug down below, just because it's a little hard. It's a little hard to plug that, but
there you go.
I'll leave my contact card with Sean, and we can definitely get you guys going and get you guys in the right direction.
Again, and it's all about educating yourself, guys. We're here to give you the most information as possible, but you should always be doing your own research. Do your due diligence, and it will pay off in the end. Thank you for joining the podcast. I'm your host, Sean Waller. Thank you. Make sure you listen, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Tell me you like it. Even if you hate it, just leave a comment. Holla at you, boy.